Thoughts become things. That's been said for eons. Mike Dooley added a little something to it. He said, thoughts become things. Choose wisely. The reason I like that quote is because the last video was all about choice, right? Choose wisely, because in Ghostbusters, right, when the demon or whatever says the next thing you think about will destroy you, everybody's like blank mind, blank mind, blank mind, and then the guy thinks Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and then that giant, he was trying to think of the most benign thing, but he didn't realize it was going to be this giant marshmallow man, right? Thoughts become things. So Mike Dooley says choose wisely. The people say it, but I find that my students, my clients, they struggle with it because it sounds great, but like, what does it actually mean? Well, I want to walk you through something at Greatness U today we call our second ACME mechanism, right? So our second mechanism, ACME 2 of 7, is called the cycle of results. That's what today's video is all about. My name is Gina Malacone-Long, founder of Greatness U, capital U.com, where we help you reveal your greatness faster and with less effort. So today we're talking about the cycle of results. So ACME is the Greek word that means highest performance, peak performance, right? Pinnacle, zenith, etc. Our acronym in our organization is Accelerated Change Mechanisms of Excellence. We have 7 mechanisms. And today I want to talk about mechanism number 2, which is ACME number 2, called the cycle of results. Now, before we get into it, I want to touch on this idea of the mind, right? Thoughts become things, choose wisely. That's what Mike Dooley says. And, you've heard your mind creates reality. I believe it was Buddha that said that, right? And so you hear these things all the time, but, and maybe you believe them, but, I want you to have a visceral experience of knowing the power of your mind. So I actually have a little exercise I want to do with you today, right? And it's called the book in the balloon. So if you do this exercise with 100%, right? So often when I'm speaking in front of a large audience, I'll tell them 2 guidelines for my programs. Number 1, don't believe a word I say, which is something I've told you time and time again on these videos. And number 2, give it 100%. Play it 100%. In these videos, I'm giving you 100%. It is 1 billion degrees in my office studio right now, but I am giving you 100%. If you give 100% and I give 100%, we create a supercharged learning environment. So I'm going to invite you to give 100% right now. In doing this exercise, here's what's in it for you. If you do this exercise that I call the book in the balloon, you will have an absolute undeniable experience of the power of your mind, without question. You will know you know. And it will give you a basis for recognizing that sometimes it's the simplest things in life that cause the biggest breakthroughs. So the book in the balloon, give it 100% effort. All you've got to do is use your imagination at the level of a 5-year-old child. Do exactly what I say, and you will have the outcome of experiencing your mind, creating reality. All right, so what I want you to do, obviously if you're driving or in a moving vehicle of any kind, this isn't appropriate, but if you're sitting in your office or listening to this on the back deck or in a classroom or whatever, I want you to stand up. I want you to put your hand straight out in front of you like this and turn one hand palm up. Okay, so turn one hand palm up like that. And now with the imaginative power of a 5-year-old child, close your eyes and really pretend like you're a 5-year-old at this point. Okay, you might look stupid, who cares? You're giving it 100%. Close your eyes. Now, imagine on the hand that's palm up, I drop 5 of these giant encyclopedias. What's going to happen to your hand? And then I tie on the hand that's palm down, I tie 5 multicolored helium balloons, red, green, blue, pink, orange. So hand that's palm up, I drop the books. Hand that's palm down, I tie the balloons. Close your eyes and imagine, really imagine what would happen if that was reality. And I drop the books on your hands and I tie the balloons to your wrist. Now look at where you are right now. Open your eyes, freeze, look at where you are, right? That is your mind creating reality. That was 30 seconds of suggestion, and you created a reality that did not exist. I'm over here in the video. I'm not even there. What do you think 10, 20, 30 years of suggesting to yourself over and over and over again your limits, your beliefs, your thoughts, what do you think that does to the reality in front of you? That's the power of your mind. Now, join me in learning ACME number 2, which is we call the cycle of results. The cycle of results is something that I kind of borrowed from here and there to try to help explain and grapple with this concept of how does something go from being an idea in my mind to a result in reality. Now, I'm borrowing a model from Dr. Thurman Fleet, which was developed in the beginning of the 20th century, in like early 1920s-ish, about 100 years ago now. And what Fleet said was something fascinating to me. Fleet said, thoughts lead to feelings, okay? Feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. So that's what Fleet said. Now, let's just contemplate this for a second. Everybody out there knows, right? You all know that actions produce results. Everybody knows that. Whenever I'm in a big audience and I say, what produce results? Everybody says actions. Okay. But what I want to illustrate here is that's not the beginning of the cycle. Fleet gave us this cycle. You'll notice actions isn't the beginning. So what's the significance of that? Because people try to change their actions to get a different result. And that's where we end up in that hell cycle, right? That's the definition of insanity, changing your actions to get a different result. It's like if I'm baking a cake and I get the recipe book out and I'm following and I quickly whip the cake together because you're coming over for a visit. You know, and I'm brushing around and I shove it in the oven and then I go and I clean up the rest of the house. So I go over here and I tidy up, and I come back to the kitchen and I realize 10, 12 minutes later, oh, shoot, I forgot to put the eggs in the cake. And I look at my watch and I go, you know what? Nobody knows. Nobody will be wiser. I'll just pull the cake out of the oven. I'll break the little crust on top. I'll beat up the 4 eggs or whatever. I'll just sneakily pour them into the kind of half-baked cake and cover it over and stick it back in the oven. It'll be fine, right? Now, how many of you want to eat my cake? Ugh, so gross. But notice, I didn't put arsenic in the cake. It's still a cake. Listen. It's good enough. Here's the thing. If you want to make the cake have the result of the cake in the cookbook, and 10 minutes, 12 minutes in, you realize you forgot to put the eggs in the cake, you have to throw it out and start over at the beginning. So every time you change your actions to get a different result, you're just putting eggs in a half-baked cake. So it's good enough, but it might not get the intended result. So Thurman Fleet said, no, this is in the middle of the cycle. The cycle actually starts over here: thoughts, feelings, actions, results. So notice something really unique. Okay, I'm going to bring back the concept of the meat suit. So the concept of the meat suit is that thinking and feeling is done inside the meat suit. And then actions sort of translate, between my meat suit and my environment, which leads to my results. Now, remember, don't believe everything I say. So now I want to scrutinize this. Now, I'm not going to prove it. I'm a scientist, just so we're clear. And despite what the world is telling you is science right now, the scientific method is this. Observe reality, develop a theory or a thesis, okay? Test it, collect the data, see what the data says, not what you want it to say, and then report your conclusion. That's the scientific method. And I'm not going to pretend to prove something, because proving something requires very rigorous testing. But I am going to try to ground this to see if it just makes sense. Like, does it make sense? Is it plausible? I'm not proving it, but is it plausible that thoughts, ideas could become results? Is that plausible? Now, how I'm going to do that is I'm going to borrow from Einstein to help me ground whether this could be plausible. Now, as you all know, Einstein is famous for the theory of relativity, right? So Einstein showed us E equals mc squared. It's not, again, simple, so elegant. But here's the unique thing about this equation. Einstein, there's not much going on here. So why did everybody go bananas over it? It's like three symbols and a number, and 4 symbols and okay. Well, because at the time, those two things were separate. Energy, like these words, they stand for something. These letters, right? E stands for energy, and M stands for matter, or mass. And C is the speed of light, which is just like a big giant number. And so what Einstein did is something no one had ever done before, because these things were different. You know, everybody used to think of like energies over here, and I'm studying like quantum physics and energetic physics, and they have different laws. And matter is over here, and it's Newtonian physics, and I have all these different laws. And Einstein came along and he did something that no one had ever done before. He equated them. So this symbol here, this mathematical symbol of the equal sign, changed reality forever. And what it means is that there's a relatedness proven by mathematics, that energy and matter are related by the speed of light. Okay. Now, what Einstein sort of said, it's a paraphrase of what he said at a conference once, was we were wrong. What we used to think of as matter, you know, and energy as being separate. So think of, you know, matter as like this pencil is like matter, you know, and energy is maybe like the iPhone, you know, or whatever, your phone waves, frequencies. So he said, okay, we were wrong. Matter and energy, we used to think them as two different things. Actually, matter is energy whose vibration has been lowered to be perceivable by the five senses. So let's just back that up. Matter is energy whose vibration has been lowered. So vibrate simply means to shake. For those of you who aren't big science fans, to vibrate means to shake, right? Now, what he's referring to in the sentence, because it's left out of the sentence, is he's referring to the particles or the stuff of reality, atoms, molecules, whatever you want to call it. We'll just call it the stuff. Really technical terms here. But I'm trying to keep this accessible. So Einstein said matter is energy whose vibration has been lowered, right? So what that means is matter is energy whose particles or stuff shakes slower to be perceivable by the five senses. Matter is energy whose vibration has been lowered to be perceivable by the five senses. And we all know what the five senses are, right? Seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and touching or feeling. So matter is energy whose vibration has been lowered to be perceivable by the five senses. So therefore, everything's energy, one set of laws, okay? Now, let's try this on. So matter is energy whose vibration has been lowered to be perceivable by the five senses. So let's start with something really like in the material realm. So let's just pick a car. It doesn't matter what kind of car. Let's just pick a car. So a new car, right? So I want you to try it on. So let's try on with the five senses. So can you see a new car? Yes. Can you hear a new car engine? Yes. You know, can you smell it? Well, new car smell is literally a thing. Could you taste it? I suppose you could chew on it if you wanted to. And can you feel it? Well, of course you can touch a new car. So 5 out of 5 senses would put a car in the realm of matter. So in Einstein's equation, it would be very much an M. So we'll call the result, or this is matter, and that's M. So we're saying 5 out of 5. So that's matter, that's M. Okay, now let's hop all the way over to the beginning of Fleet's model, which is thoughts. And I want you to think about your thoughts in terms of your senses. So can you see? So they say a deep thinker has somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 100,000 thoughts a day, depending on who you ask and who's proving that they know more. But let's just say somewhere in the neighborhood of tens of thousands of thoughts a day. Can you see them? No, they pass through your mind like a stock ticker. Right? Can you hear them? The answer is no. If you can hear your thoughts, we should talk, but sideline. Can you feel 60, 70,000 thoughts a day passing through your mind like a stock ticker? No, it's not like, Can you smell them? No. Taste them? No. So 0 out of 5 senses, 0 out of 5. So in Einstein's equilibrium here, right, results are more of matter and thoughts are more like energy. Okay, so this is more of an E in the whole continuum. So now I know if I hook you up to an EEG, I'm going to see movement on the page. So there's something there, but it's not really perceivable by our 5 senses. We need more finely tuned machines to perceive what's going on there. Now, 60, 70, people say to me, but I can see them, I can feel them. No. Based on the 60, 70,000 thoughts a day passing through your mind, based on what you believe or don't believe, you will emit an emotion, you will emote on certain thoughts, not all of them. They just go, and you grab one like a frog catching a fly. So think of that emotion then. Can you see your emotions? No, you can't see them. Can you hear them? No. Smell, taste, no, but you can feel them. Proprioception, emotions actually have physical sensations, usually in the trunk of the body. So that's 1 out of 5 senses. Okay, that's interesting. Now, everybody do this right now who's watching this video, okay? This is an action. Can you see it? Can you hear it? Can you feel it? Yes. Does it have a smell? No. Does it have a taste? No. So 3 out of 5 senses. So something really interesting is happening here. As we go from ideas to results, we have a reduction in energy, a lowering of vibration. Matter is energy, whose vibration has been lowered to be perceivable by the 5 senses. Therefore, everything's energy, and it's all governed by the same principles, laws, rules. It's the same thing. It's just different forms, right? When I was growing up as a young scientist, I learned about the different forms, the different phases of water so there are 3. So H2O is the chemical formula for water. Many people know that, so it's not particularly complicated. But H2O in solid form, which is the most dense, right, is called ice. And H2O in liquid form, which is less dense than ice. Well, actually in water, it's the other way around, but you know what I mean in terms of matter. So it's like solid, liquid, fluid is called water. It's fluid. And then H2O in gaseous form, gas form, is called steam. But you are clear that the same particles that make up the steam cool to become the liquid water, which further cools to become the ice. It's the same. It's the same thing all the way through. It's the same H2O all the way through. So in that analogy, this is the same thing all the way through this continuum. It's a reduction. It's a slowing down of the particles or the stuff. Now, this isn't a proof. It's just to help you contemplate whether this model is something you should use. And we think so at Greatness U. We make it our second mechanism because we believe that this is more like a mirror here, right? Results are sort of a mirror, if you think of this being a meat suit, translated through the actions. So how do your ideas become results, or how do your thoughts become things? It starts in the mind and it moves through this continuum. So then you have a choice point at the end where you measure your results. Did you get it? Yes or no? Do or do not. There is no try. Did you get it? Yes or no? If you got it, great, you're done. If you didn't, if you go back and change your actions, you're just going to get the same thing. So I'd like to alter the definition of insanity. It doesn't have to do with your actions per se. The definition of insanity is being the same person, because you're a human being, right? Who does things to have things. So the definition of insanity is being the same, doing whatever actions you're doing, expecting a different result. You know, my original title of my first book, which was The Secret of Successful Failing, my title was You Can't Fix Your Hair by Combing the Mirror. If you look into the mirror and you see a messy hairdo, no amount of screaming at the mirror, manipulating the mirror is going to make the mirror show a different hairdo. You have to go back and fix your frickin' hair. You can't fix your hair by combing the mirror, right? Or it's like if you're watching a movie and you don't like the movie that you're watching, right? It'd be insane to go up to the movie screen and start screaming at it. Change the outcome. It would be equally insane, but it would work if you went up to the projection booth and started splicing the movie on the fly. It would be insane. It would be a ton of work, but it would work. Okay. But anybody knows that if you want the movie to have a different ending, just write a new movie. Write a new movie. That's easy. Put it in the projector and run it. So it's all about effort. You know, I use the water, liquid, the ice, like water, steam analogy, right? So when I was in chemical engineering and when I was in, the lab, if we were distilling or if we were, fooling around with these phases. So if I somehow got particulate matter, let's just say sand, it wouldn't be sand, but let's just say sand, in the ice. Okay, so if I handed you an ice cube and said, there's sand in the ice, can you please get the sand out of the ice, and handed you a pair of tweezers, that would work. It would be insane, but it would work. You could pick each, like, oh my God. Now, it would be much more efficient to just melt the ice and then filter out the sand, but it'd still be effort because you'd need a filter and you'd have to pour the water and you'd have to get some heat to melt the ice, but it would work. But the most effective way to get that particulate matter, that sand, to get out of the ice is to take it one step further and and to vaporize the water, because if you vaporize the water, the sand would just drop out using the force of gravity. It would be effortless. It would be faster and with less effort. Okay, so go back to where this is the beginning of your results. This is the middle of the cycle. So that's eggs and a half-baked cake. It will work, but it might not produce the result as intended. So this model, we really like it. And I want to close with something that we commonly talk about, which is be, do, have. People on the planet have it backwards. People will say things like, oh, if I only had more money, then I would do what I wanted, then I would be happy. But that's have, do, be. It doesn't flow that way. I suppose it could. I mean, water can flow uphill, right? We can reverse the flow of a river using a whole bunch of mechanics and pumps and fuel and, you know, staff, etc. But water is meant to flow downhill, just effortless. So it's not have, do, be, it's be, do, have. So let's just flip that common phrase. If I only had more money, I could do what I wanted, then I'd be happy. Let's flip it. So be happy, do what comes from that happiness, and have money. What if it's true? Like, what if this whole time we've had it backwards? I'm not saying this is true. Remember, don't believe everything I say, but shit, man, if it's true, you should probably pay attention to that. And then the Beatles sang something like, money can't buy you love, or something like that. So it shows up in our common colloquial terms. So I would pay attention to that. And I was recently watching a movie called Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli on Disney Plus, like a teen movie. And the character Stargirl, amazing. She said, people aren't happy when they win. You're not happy when you win. You win because you're happy. I nearly fell out of my chair. Be, do, have. Thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Matter is energy whose vibration has been lowered to be perceivable by the five senses. You can't fix your hair by combing the mirror. That's the cycle of results. So it starts here. This is the easiest thing to change because you're 100% in control of it. Change your choices, change your thoughts, change reality. All right, so if you got something out of this video, it was a little bit long, but if you got something out of this video, then please hit subscribe. Please make sure to like, comment, and share so we can get this content out to everyone so they can learn about greatness, capital U, greatnessu.com, so that everybody out there can reveal your greatness. You are the people we've been waiting for. Reveal your greatness. Change happens in a snap.